I don't know why my printer just decided that it was going to do what it's doing right now. It literally just now decided that it was going to start talking to us. So we'll wait until the printer is done talking. Because printers have a mind of their own. They come alive and they talk to you. And they work according to their own schedule and time frame. So there it goes. All right, welcome to this episode of Go There on Fourth, a Christian podcast that talks about football, faith, and fantasy football. And for the record, I am a pastor. I am not a football expert. I am just sharing with you my journey through this fantasy football season. My fantasy football regular season lasts 14 weeks. If I make it to the playoffs and go further than that, then I will keep this podcast season going for as long as my team's still alive. But for reasons I'll explain later, that or at least it's the 14 weeks is looking like it might be it. But anyway, I am not an expert. I'm more of just a football junkie. I love the game. I love watching it. So I'm gonna be sharing with you. I'm sharing with you my struggles and even my game picks each week. And so there's episodes on Thursdays and Tuesdays. Thursdays we're kind of getting ready for the week's matchups, and Tuesdays we're kind of recapping how I did over the weekend. So with that being said, we're on a Tuesday edition this week, and we're going to kind of be updating on how I fared in my game picks and my lineup for the week. Let's just jump right in. So for week 2, these are my week 2 game picks, and this is how it worked out. We're just gonna look at the Thursday night and the early Sunday games for this last week. So Chargers versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs won the game. They trailed for a good portion of it, then kind of rallied back and took the lead in the second half. It was a really entertaining game, really interesting game. But my big takeaway is how tough is Justin Herbert. I mean, I don't know if you saw the shot where he got injured and hurt his ribs, and you could just see him in pain. And then to be able to continue to play the game and throw the ball down the field the way he did was just incredible. Even though you saw in that one play where he went to throw it and he had to throw it away because his pain was so great, but just to be able to stay in the game and keep playing through that injury, amazing performance by Justin Herbert. Even though the Chiefs won, Jets versus the Browns, and the Jets won. I have a friend who is a lifelong Cleveland sports fan, loves the Browns, but he said after this loss by the Browns, he's not even sure he wants to watch football anymore. He's just that broken about the game. And for a while there, it did look like the Browns were going to pull it out and win the game, but then the Browns were the Browns. Maybe it had something to do with Brownie the Elf. Maybe Brownie the Elf is the curse. All right, Commanders versus Lions. Lions won that one, so I got that one right. So the first 3 picks, I picked the Chiefs to win, got it right. I picked the Jets to win, got it right. And I picked the Lions to win and got it right there too. And Wentz was sacked 5 times and threw 1 interception. So Commanders, maybe we missed something. Maybe if you had Wentz on your team before you guys picked your new team name, you could have went with the name the Roller Coaster Tycoons, because that's what you're on right now. You're on the Wentz roller coaster, and so I'll be praying for you this season, and hopefully you all have strong hearts. And a love and appreciation for your team. But Lions won that one. Buccaneers versus the Saints. I picked the Saints to win because Tom Brady and the Buccaneers have struggled against the Saints in his time there. But this time they were able to get the victory. And the Saints just never looked like they were really a threat. I mean, both offenses struggled in the game. But to me, I just never, as I watched parts of that game, I ended up turning it in the second half because it just wasn't that entertaining of a game for me. It was just such a struggle, but the Saints never really looked like they were in it. Panthers versus the Giants. I picked the Panthers to win. I got that one wrong. I still can't believe the Giants are 2-0. Daniel Jones is a quarterback. It's the new coach. Dayball's got him believing, and he's got him playing hard. And so who knows? Maybe the Giants are kind of going to make a little more noise. In a division that's terrible. The Eagles look like they're definitely the front team in the NFC East, in my opinion. But maybe the Giants are sneaky number 2 in there. All right, Patriots versus the Steelers. I picked the Steelers to win, and the Patriots won. I guess we kind of have to say maybe the Bill Belichick era isn't over yet. They're just kind of retooling and refiguring things out. Still not sure about Matt Patricia as their offensive coordinator, though. But I did know something this week watching this game. I don't know if you ever noticed how much Mitch Trubisky looks like Adam Sandler from The Waterboy, but I encourage you at some point today to stop, look at a picture of Mitch Trubisky with his helmet on, and do a side-by-side of Adam Sandler as The Waterboy with his helmet on, and you'll notice something. You'll notice that there's very similar looks. Maybe perhaps Adam Sandler can give Mitch Trubisky some tips moving forward. Colts versus the Jaguars. I picked the Colts to win. And I'm just going to be honest, it's too soon. As a Colts fan, I bleed Colts blue. It's too soon to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm not ready yet, okay? So I'm going to ask you all to respect that and just wait until I'm ready to have the conversation about how bad my Colts are doing. Dolphins versus the Ravens. I picked the Dolphins to win, and the Dolphins won. It looked like I really had this one wrong for most of the game. I was just like, oh, no, I picked this one way out there. But apparently I wasn't wrong. And they were able to get over the hill. The Dolphins were going to get over the hill because Tyreek Hill kind of went off there in the fourth quarter, and really was a big part of that comeback. So for my early games, for the Thursday night and the early Sunday games, there were 8 of them. I got 4 wins, 4 losses in my picks. And the only one I was really wrong on, I feel like, was the Colts. Like, yes, I got, you picked the wrong teams, but there's, ones where I'm just like, I was just way off on that one. I feel like the Colts were the ones I was really off on. But does a true fan ever really give up on their team? Now, come on. So, no. If you're a true fan of a team, you don't ever give up on them. So I will probably, again, I've said throughout this series that I will probably never be realistic about my picks on the Colts. All right, so I'm going to share a brief devotional with you because, again, this is a Christian podcast about football, faith, and fantasy football. So this is kind of the faith element of that. And our devotional today, I just want to kind of share with you that over the years, I have hated some players and some teams. Growing up, again, I grew up just south of Indianapolis, and I love the Colts. I remember the first Colts game I remember watching was the '96 AFC Championship game where we threw the pass, the Hail Mary into the end zone. It was caught and it wasn't counted, and we lost that game. So to this day, I still kind of have a grudge against the Steelers for that, even though it wasn't the Steelers' fault; it was the referee's fault. But I'm blaming the Steelers. Another guy that killed my Colts growing up was Dan Marino. I didn't get to see much all of Dan Marino's career. I kind of caught the later end of it. But Dan Marino just absolutely destroyed the Colts every time they played him. And keep in mind, I watched with Jim Harbaugh before Peyton Manning got there, and so in Peyton Manning's first couple of years, which were kind of rough. So it was your team got destroyed, and my team got destroyed those games. And Dan Marino was one of those. The one team coach quarterback I've hated through the years is the Patriots, Belichick, and Tom Brady. Right? How many times were my Colts on a roll? Have one of the best offenses of all time, and then just meet the Patriots, and it just didn't work out. We lost the game, and I was left in tears, heartbroken, and waiting for next season again. And another player that I hated for a long time was Phillip Rivers. I just couldn't stand Phillip Rivers when he was with the Chargers, and I don't know what it is. It might go back to that one playoff game where he hurts his knee in the second half of the game, and somehow is still able to will the Chargers to victory over the Colts, and so I've held a grudge against Phillip Rivers for that for a long time, because it's like, come on, man, you had a hurt knee and you still lit us up. Why didn't you just sit on the bench so we could win and move on? But Phillip Rivers said no. He kind of ruined that for me. So here I am, a pastor in that's a believer in Jesus Christ, that preaches Jesus Christ, preaches that Jesus calls us to love God and to love others. But yet here in this podcast, I'm sharing with you about sports teams and sports players that I hate, specifically to football. Don't even get me started on Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. I still can't. Anyway, but here I am, a pastor, talking about hating someone, hating others. Doesn't that conflict with the God's call upon my life and the call to follow Christ, which is to love God and to love others? And I kind of want to share that with you. If you look in 1 Peter chapter 2, there's a section that my Christian Standard Bible has labeled as a call to good works. And Peter, the disciple of Jesus, who would become apostle, who would really be a leader in the early church, one of those big early leaders, right? And it has written this letter. And he's talking about things that we should do as followers of Jesus Christ that kind of illustrate the transformation of grace that's taken place in our lives. We claim that Jesus has changed us, and so if we believe that truly, if Jesus has truly changed us, it's going to be reflected in the way we live our lives. And Peter writes about this in his letter of chapter 2, verses 11 through 17. But I'm really just going to focus on verse 17. But that section Peter is calling Christians to do good works, and because those good works don't earn your salvation. You don't have to do good things to get God to like you. God already loves you, so that means God already likes you. God already wants you at His table, and He doesn't want us to try and earn His favor. And quite honestly, we can't earn His favor. But we're called to do good works, not to earn God's favor, but as a demonstration of the fact that we belong to God, that we love Him, and we love others. It's carrying out that belief that we have. And if you're not living out what you believe, you don't really believe it. What you have is an idea, you have a concept. But for that concept to mean anything to you or to me, we have to make it practical, make it the way we live our lives. But anyway, so in this section, we're talking about this idea of hate. Peter writes this. He says in verse 17, honor everyone, love the brothers and sisters, fear God, honor the emperor. So fear God, that makes sense. We as people who love God, we should have a healthy respect for God. And that's really what's meant here. It's not, yes, we should have some, I guess, an element of fear of knowing that our God is holy, our God is just. He's not going to leave sin unpunished. But the good news for us is that Jesus Christ bore the punishment of our sin upon the cross. So we should have that respect for God. That makes sense. Love the brothers and sisters. That means love the church, love the people that belong to the body of Christ. And that makes sense to us too. We should love one another, and we should be reflecting. We should be the definition of love, be the ones that are carrying out that definition for the world to see. As Christians, do we always do a good job of that? No. But the call still remains the same. We are called to love God, love others, and it begins with loving the church. And the church is the bride of Christ. And you really can't love God or love Jesus if you don't love the church. I'm not saying you love everything about the church. I'm saying the church is the bride of Christ. It's made up of the people who have proclaimed that Jesus has transformed their lives. They are the ones doing the work, carrying on the mission of Jesus. So we have to love them. We have to support the church. And that means loving the people that are a part of it. Honor the emperor. That one's not always popular right now. But we should honor the emperor. We should honor the people in charge of us and the government authorities. Not necessarily if we have a tough time with the person who's there, we need to at least honor the office, right? But Jesus tells us to go further. He tells us to honor the person that has taken up that office. So there should be a healthy respect there. But that first one is the difficult one. It says honor everyone. And there is no other way to look at this other than it's referring to every single person we come in contact with. It's very clear. Peter has broken down into the different categories of the people we're supposed to honor, respect, and love. And really, love is still at the heart of all of those. So again, as what I'm talking about as a pastor, I hate Dan Marino, I hate the Patriots, I hate Belichick, I hate Brady, I hate the Phillip Rivers. It would come across that I am living in conflict with the life that God has called me to. And what Peter is telling us is a good work that represents the change that Jesus has done inside of me. But you see, when we talk about hate in sports, it has a different meaning. It doesn't mean the same thing. And the reason why, if we're really being honest with ourselves, is when we're watching a team that we hate, or we're watching a coach that we hate, or we're watching a player that we hate, we really have no connection to them other than what we see on the field or on the court, right? We have no personal connection beyond that. All we know is that whenever our team plays against this player or this team or this coach, that coach, that team, and that player always bring harm upon our favorite team, and it arouses these feelings of, I just can't stand them. Because we want our team to see our teams win. And so we say, we hate that person. We hate that team. But when we say that, we're not saying it because we actually hate the person Tom Brady or we actually hate the person Dan Marino. We're saying it because in our hearts and our minds we recognize how talented, how skilled they really are. And so in our heart of hearts, in many ways, when we say we hate that player, we hate that team, we are honoring the talent, the effort, the skill set that is being displayed by those individuals. So again, in sports, hate has a different meaning. When back in 2007, maybe it was 2006. No, the year the Colts won the Super Bowl, where they beat the Bears. As much as I hated the Patriots and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, I was so glad that we had to face them in the AFC Championship game and beat them to get to the Super Bowl. Why? Because that team was considered the best. That was the best coach. That was the best quarterback. That was the best team. And that was the team that had knocked us out year after year. So in my mind, the level of respect that I had for the Patriots, Belichick and Brady at the time, was if I really want to see my team be the best, if I want to really see them overcome and be the championship team that I know they are, then they have to go through New England to get there. Because in my mind, if it had gone any other route and they played anybody else, in the back of my mind, it always would have been, yeah, but that year you didn't face the Patriots. But because they were able to face the best of the best and beat them and get in the Super Bowl and win the game, it added the value to it. But that's because how deeply I respected those people. And over the years, as I've, Philip Rivers came and joined the Colts for a time, right? And that it was easy to become a fan of Philip Rivers. Why? Because I didn't actually hate him as a person. I didn't know him as a person. But the talent and the skill set that he brought to the Colts, even though he's in a later stage of his career, and the energy and that passion to win, he brought with him. So the things that made me loathe him when he was on another team was something that he brought to the table for our team. And so it's easy to respect him and get behind him and cheer him on because, again, there was this level of honor and respect for him as a player doing the game of football. So really, in football and in really most sports, what hate actually is, what it really is respect. And another word for respect is honor. Now, if you're listening to this and you're saying, well, I don't actually, that's not what it is. I actually do hate this person. Then yes, then you are living in conflict with Scripture. You're living in conflict with your life as a Christian, or living in conflict with God's call on how to live. But I would encourage you, examine it. Do you hate them because you actually hate them, or do you hate them because really at the end of the day you respect and you're honoring the level of talent that they're bringing to the table? And that can go beyond just anything in our lives. Perhaps sometimes the people we hate the most are really deep down the people we respect the most, or the people that challenge us the most. It has nothing to do with their behavior. It has nothing to do with even who they are. It's just that they challenge us, they push us. And that's where that feeling comes from. So examine that. And if maybe that's an area where you struggle, ask Jesus to help you. Ask God for the grace to be able to see them and to love them and to earn that respect or that honor for them. All right. So if you like that devotion, I encourage you to check out Ravenna Church of the Nazarene. That's where I'm recording this podcast from. I'm on the campus in the pastor's office here. We're located at 530 Main Street in Ravenna, Kentucky. Our hashtag is RavNaz, and you can be sure to check out ravnaz.com. Our services are Sunday mornings at 11 a.m., and we would love to have you join us. So with that being said, let's move on. Let's move on to my picks for the late Sunday games, the Sunday afternoon games. There were only 5 of them. The Falcons versus the Rams. I picked the Rams to win, and the Falcons must have misread the script, because what's supposed to happen for the Falcons is they're supposed to jump out to a big lead and then let the other team come back and win. But what happened this time is the Rams jumped out to a big lead, and the Falcons tried to come back and win. So they added drama, but they added it in the wrong way. So if you're a Falcons fan, at least you didn't have the heartache of leading the whole game and then losing. At least you got hope for a little while. Don't have the hope dashed, right? So different path to the same result. Seahawks versus the 49ers. I picked the 49ers to win, and they won. Jimmy G is the starter again. And there's just something about Jimmy G being the quarterback for the 49ers that works. I don't know what it is, but it does. Bengals versus the Cowboys. I picked the Bengals to win this one because, the Cowboys don't have Dak Prescott and the weapons we're not sure about, already. And I picked the Bengals to win that one, and the Bengals didn't win. The Cowboys won. They won pretty handily. And Cooper Rush, the backup quarterback that stepped in, he looked pretty good. But next they have the undefeated Giants up next. So before I start saying, Dak, start worrying about your job, let's see how Cooper Rush does against the undefeated Giants, against a divisional opponent. Maybe we'll talk more about that then. But Cooper Rush, keep an eye on him. Texans versus the Broncos. I picked the Broncos to win, and the Broncos won. But let's be honest, it wasn't as easy as it probably should have been. The Broncos still look like they're still trying to figure it out. But that's okay. It's early in the Wilson-Bronco union. And with a new head coach too, so it might be different if they had a long-term established coach and Russell Wilson was coming into a system that was already there. But not only are the players having to get used to Russell Wilson, but I think to adjust to a new coach and a new scheme. So we'll just keep it on that. Don't get panicked yet. Cardinals versus Raiders. I picked the Raiders to win that one, and thanks to Kyler Murray running around like a toddler with a stolen phone, the Raiders lost. So, the reason I make that reference in the statement later, there's a really funny video going around Facebook, TikTok, social media of the last play where Kyler Murray is running around to make that 2-point conversion, and the caption reads, "He's like a toddler with a stolen phone running from his parents." So that's pretty much what happened. All right, so with the 5 afternoon games, I had 3 wins, 2 losses, and so that gets me to 7-6 for the week, and so I'm at above 500 so far, unlike my fantasy team. So let me share with you my fantasy football struggles for this week and how it went. Like I said, I'm in a league, a 12-team PPR league with custom scoring. It's full of church folks, some pastor friends, and some other friends. So I'm just going to take you through my lineup. I did a little differently the first week. The second week, I've decided it might be easier if I just take you through who's my starting lineup and share with you how they did. Derek Carr is my quarterback. He went against the Cardinals. He put up 63 points for me. And when I say there's custom scoring, we have points per reception, but we also have some points for carries, points for targets, and points for completions. So that's why my scoring might sound a little different to you, but that's okay. But Derek Carr worked out 63 points. I was pretty happy with that. Eckler for the Chargers against the Chiefs, he put up 33 points for me. He had 14 carries and 9 catches. And I know there's a lot of talk right now that we should be concerned about his usage and his numbers so far. I'm not quite there yet. I mean, they faced the Raiders and the Chiefs. They faced 2 divisional opponents in the first 2 weeks, and he's getting carries, he's getting catches, he's getting touches. So I'm not as concerned as maybe some of the experts you are reading about are. Maybe I'm wrong though, because my team is 0-2, but I'm not ready to move on from Eckler yet. James Conner, running back, was my RB2 from the Cardinals. And I was concerned about him going up against the Raiders defense, and then he got hurt in the fourth quarter and only managed 14.5 points after scoring me over 30 in the first week. That hurt, and now I'm going to be playing between now and Thursday and pretty much all week. Will he play? Will he not play? And the reason why I mentioned Thursday, I kind of am the type of person, I will set my lineup on Thursday, and then I won't touch it again unless there's an injury that forces me to. I kind of know my mindset, I know my game plan heading into Thursday, and so I'm going to kind of hang on to that until I'm forced to change it and go with something else. But Connor's going to be one I'm going to have to watch all week long to see whether I start him or not. I'll kind of let you know where I'm at if you tune in Thursday. Tyreek Hill, receiver 1 for me. He was against the Ravens. He put up 43 points. He had 11 catches, 190 yards, and 2 touchdowns, even with Waddle having a great game. Waddle had a good game himself, so both those wideouts had an incredible game, but it helps when your quarterback throws for 460 yards, right? He just lit it up through the air. What's crazy in my league is Tua was on a team, but he was on the bench, and so I didn't play that team, but I'm sure the person that played that team was very grateful. But anyway, so Tyreek Hill, it was awesome. Did a great job. Deontay Johnson versus the Patriots. I was concerned about this game because, again, even though I picked the Steelers to win and we know the Patriots won that one, I thought it's Bill Belichick going up against Mitch Trubisky. And how effective would the passing game be for the Steelers? And it was a struggle. And Johnson only put up 14 points. And maybe there's a little bit of concern moving forward and about who the quarterback is, who they're playing. But what has me encouraged about Johnson right now is that he's had 22 targets and 13. While he only has 13 catches of those 22 targets, that's through the first 2 games. So obviously he's playing a big role in the offense and in the passing game. So again, he's worth, to me, hanging on to and keeping around. At tight end, I had to make a change. We talked about that on last week. That I had Hunter Henry from the Patriots at my tight end spot, and he only put up for me 4 points in the first week, and that was just not cutting it. So I picked up Everett from the Chargers, and against the Chiefs, he was able to put up 14 points himself. So that was a big improvement. That helped. That kind of pushed my team in the right direction. I was happy. I was feeling good about myself until the whole Connor thing happened, and that's kind of was where the downfall happened. Defense. This is the other one. Defense. I had the Bengals versus the Cowboys. Again, this was a change. I'm the type of a player that I kind of try and stream defenses. I base it upon the matchups. And I kind of thought, the Bengals going against the Cowboys backup quarterback, that could really work out. It did not work out the way I hoped. They only put up 8 points. And so that's kind of the cost of streaming defenses, though. Sometimes you're guessing, you're gambling based on the matchups, and it just won't always work out. But when it does work out, it usually really works out. So I will probably be searching waiver wire again this week for a defense to see, okay, which matchup of these available teams am I going to feel comfortable with. And then my kicker, Ryan Suckup, scored me 10 points, and that's why my team name is named after him. We are the Don't Be a Suckup, even though we're now 0-2. Even though I'm 0-2, what hasn't helped me so far is that with the 2 opponents I've played, have kind of had really big games. One scored the most points in week 1 of anyone in the league, and then the second week, I think they're the second highest scoring person, or at least in the top 3 out of the 12. So my opponents combined have the second highest points against me. So that hasn't helped me. Even though my scoring on my end hasn't been spectacular, I did have a big, vast improvement from week 1 to week 2. So I still have some work to do. Still has some changes that are coming up. Maybe a change at defense. Scout some running backs out this week to kind of fill in the gap. So that's where my team is at. I'd love to know how your team is doing. Please shoot me a message in the comments. You can visit the dirtpathsermonpodcast.com. Go to the contact section and send me a message there. Or you can find the Dirt Path page on Facebook and send me a message there. Or you can visit ravnaz.com and contact me that way. But I would love to know how your team is doing. All right, my primetime picks from last week. I had 3 of them, right? Because there was 3 games, which was kind of weird and unusual. But Bears versus the Packers, I picked the Bears to win. And I'm just going to say, well, Rodgers still owns the Bears. So I guess until Rodgers retires, maybe I won't be making that mistake again. All right, Titans versus the Bills. I picked the Bills to win that one, and the Bills did win. They won 41-7. I mean, it was a complete drubbing. I don't think the Bills really lost anything from week 1 to week 2. The good news is for the Titans, we got to see Willis at the start, step in and play for a little while. Personally, I don't think Tannehill has any worries, though, from what I was seeing. I feel like Willis still has some things to work through, some improvement before he's ready to step in and be the full-time starter. As poorly as Tannehill has played, I still think he is probably the better option there. Vikings versus the Eagles. I picked the Vikings to win that one. And Vikings fans, I'm sorry I was wrong. And now we understand one another much better. That your team is one that gives you hope and crushes it pretty regularly. So I'm hurting with you this week. Just know, Vikings fans, I'm here for you. We're all in the same boat together. So my primetime picks, they weren't good. I went one win, 2 losses, and I finished 8-8 for the week. But which brings me to a 17-14 record on the season. So that's not bad. I'm above 500 in my picks so far. Do you have any questions about faith or football? Please send them. Again, you can do that through all kinds of social media apps. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. You can do it through the Dirt Path podcast website. You can do it through the church website. You can ravnaz.com, the dirtpathsermonpodcast.com. Send me your questions. Again, I want to know how you did. Do you have any start sit dilemmas? Then let me help you mess those up. And be sure to catch the Thursday episode this week to see what picks and players I get wrong for this week. And hey, if you're a coach, a player of the game of football, and you would like to be a guest on this podcast, I'd love to have you join me. Please reach out. Again, please follow the Dirt Path Sermon podcast. It's available wherever podcasts can be found. Be sure to subscribe to this one, and also look up me on TikTok and add me there, the Dirt Path Pastor on there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Thursday.